Hi, my name is Dan, one of the pastors at TLC. Welcome to this morning's Daily Devo. A couple weekends ago, as Renee taught on the Beatitudes from Matthew chapter 5, he quoted a study which asked the question, what is the key to happiness? Well, the conclusion of the study was very surprising. It said this: misery is the secret to happiness. Want to be happy? You're going to have to go through some misery first. And that doesn't sound like a lot of fun. Well, they go on to say that happiness is not about avoiding sadness or discomfort, because we simply cannot avoid it. Either it's happening right now in your life, or it has happened, or it will happen. The fact is, we all suffer to one degree or another. So how does misery or suffering bring about happiness? A well-known Christian author and speaker, Paul David Tripp, about 6 years ago, published a book on that subject, suffering. He had gone through a horrific medical crisis that is still affecting his life today and will always affect his life. And it has caused him to do a lot of thinking on the subject of suffering. Let me share with you this morning just a couple of thoughts from his book. First of all, he says that suffering exposes what we have been trusting in all along. For him, he says, what he thought was faith was actually self-reliance. It was faith in his own abilities rather than faith in God. Suffering brings us to the Lord, to the only one we can fully rely on. Only in him can we find fulfillment and really true happiness. Misery can lead to happiness. Secondly, he says, suffering causes us to rely on each other. We find out real quick what an amazing gift the body of Christ is when we suffer. We were not created for independent living. We were not created to suffer alone. We need each other. We need to allow others to care for us in our difficulties. The Apostle Paul did this. He both relied on God and on the body of Christ. In 2 Corinthians chapter 1, he talks about the incredible troubles he had just recently experienced in Asia. Then he says what the purpose of those troubles were. He says this happened that we might not rely on ourselves, but on God who raises the dead. Then Paul goes on to say, on him we have set our hope, that he will continue to deliver us as you help us by your prayers. Suffering and trouble caused him to rely on God and on the church. And the result was joy and thanksgiving. He goes on to say, then many will give thanks on our behalf for the gracious favor granted us in answer to the prayers of many. Misery and suffering, troubles and discouragement, difficulties and disappointments. No fun for sure. But it leads us to rely on God, and it leads us to rely on the church. Only this kind of faith can lead to a fulfilling and happy life. I pray this is an encouragement to you today. Have a great day.